Community. Such a perplexed concept that could contain multiple interpretations. What does community mean to you? Does it mean cultural customs? Or maybe local business? Does it mean support and unity within a neighborhood? Or simply working class people working together heedlessly to build up an economic workforce and a safe neighborhood to raise their kids in? This is the East Side, a small neighborhood on the far south side of the city, between the Calumet River and the Illinois-Indiana state line. Today, it is home to 18,400 Mexicans, a whopping 78% of the total neighborhood population. This wasn't always the case. What painted this neighborhood brown? In 1920, following the end of the Progressive Era, came the desperate demand for steel in Chicago. The now vacant South Works steel plants, located in the southeast side of Chicago, triggered a large Mexican migration wave to this area. At the steel industry's economic peak, there were many fruitful job opportunities for Mexican immigrants, and as a result, incited the formation of a new, close-knit community centered around the steel mill. Today, steel mills are gone. However, the sense of family, local business, and overall community is what has kept the Mexican population vibrant throughout the years. The first steel industries opened in the late 1800s, but really boomed in the earlier 1900s. Steel was in immediate demand between world wars. There was a need for war materials as well as steel products produced in the United States. The economy was booming. In Chicago specifically, there was a need for steel in order to construct and refurbish the skyscrapers.
I got out of the Navy on a Tuesday, and that Thursday I went for looking around. I said, well, Wisconsin Steels, U.S. My dad worked with. I said, I want to go Republic, And I went there, and the guy gave me an interview or whatever you want to call it. Looked at my discharge paper, says come back for a physical, and that Monday I started working. That was us.
But alas, despite the great benefits these steelworkers were entitled to, there was trouble in paradise. Smaller steel mills, particularly Republic Steel, didn't want to follow the lead of U.S. Steel, which was Big Steel. These workers went on strike on May 26, 1937. They sought recognition by the companies of the union as the bargaining agent for the workers. However, while the workers were on strike, there was a large influx of Mexicans coming in to work in the place of these previous steel workers. These strikers referred to them as scabs. Before World War II, employees used Mexicans as strikebreakers and would send Mexicans working in the fields in Texas over to Chicago to work in the steel mills. This would contribute to the growing Mexican population in the south and southeast side of Chicago. In the 1950s, Mexicans in Chicago adopted branches of civil rights organizations such as the GI Forum and the League of United Latin American Citizens. These programs would be used to protect the civil as well as the labor rights of Mexican immigrants and their family. They would grow to help straighten and protect the community in this way.
My father got to be so well known. Any correspondence that came while we were living on Torrance, if it had Martinez, it had automatically come to our home. And during the Bracero period, where these men that were brought over to work in the fields, and they knew Pascuala lived at 10830 Torrance, and they'd leave the fields because they were earning such low pay. And I'd be going to high school in the morning, and I'd say, Ma, there's 4 men in the stairs. Don't worry about it. She says, just tell them to come in and I'll feed them. And she'd always have beans, potatoes, and eggs, and tortillas. She'd give them a meal. It was like the Underground Railroad. She'd give them a meal. They'd go on their way.
Yeah, they knew that they were welcome there.
Our Lady of Guadalupe was the first entry point for new Mexican immigrants. It was originally built in 1924. It was a small wooden building, but it was rebuilt in 1926 on 91st Street in Brandon. This was the first Mexican Catholic church in Chicago, and was attracting many Mexicans to the parish. By October 1974, approximately 1,200 Mexicans belonged to the parish. There were 330 children attending the elementary school. This church detonated the Mexican population in the south side. It was, in fact, a chain migration. Families followed families to this new community that offered Spanish Mass, expansion of Mexican cultures, and many more job opportunities. The first South Chicago Mexican Independence Day Parade was celebrated on September 16, 1942. It is now an annual celebration which brings the now huge Mexican East Side population together to South Chicago. Celebrations circulating OLG Church and the community, such as Bailes Folclóricos, brought the community together as well. But alas, the vibrant South Chicago Mexican population as we know it would expand into the east side.
¡Viva México! ¡Viva! ¡Viva América! ¡Viva! ¡Oh tierra bendita de Dios! ¡Viva México! ¡Viva! ¡Viva América! ¡Viva!
The Mexican Patriotic Club was the first Mexican organization in South Chicago. It was formed to help organize the Independence Day parades. The Mexican Community Committee was then founded by Henry H. Martinez later on in 1960. This program was formed by the community for the community. Its purpose was to cater especially to the Hispanic youths of the neighborhood. They had intentions to help them stay out of trouble in the community. They did this by organizing traditional Mexican dances for the kids, for special performances on religious or patriotic dates. This program would go on to influence other recreational activities such as team sports, especially baseball for Mexican youth. These activities were offered by Calumet Park, an important staple to the development of the East Side community. All of these influences would gradually start pushing more and more Mexicans from South Chicago to the east side. But why? Many European settlers didn't have their families follow them to the east side. Chain migration wasn't prevalent here. Instead, many began to leave after the Wisconsin Steel, the last working steel mill in the east side, closed permanently. This left thousands of people unemployed and a wave of depression settled in the community. Most Europeans left the area in search of better jobs. However, most Mexican families stayed. Why? Their community began to be held together by factors such as the OLG Church, which was only a mere 15 minutes away. Local business began to uprise. Housing was going to be available, and Calumet Park offered many leisure activities. And besides the fact that the east side was a safe and ideal neighborhood to raise your family in. Every immigrant withholds the desire for the American dream within them. The earliest Mexican immigrants have paved the way for more and more Mexican immigrants coming in, seeking better opportunities. So we can come back to this question: what does community mean to you? To the residents of the East Side, it means writing your own story. It means rising from the slag. It means uniting with the people around you to help one another prosper in the community. Wanting to see our children engaging in the culture we have embedded in them. Today there are many local businesses in the East Side, such as restaurants, ice cream shops, bakeries, and corner stores. The community's youth is flourishing with potential, and organizations such as the Southeast Youth Alliance is helping them accentuate this potential and aiding the community in betterment. The steel mills may be gone, but the same drive for success and prosperity remains within the people of the East Side.